Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. I'm Sam Bushman with another Liberty Roundtable live news video for you. Brought to you in part by PrepStartsNow.com. When you're in an emergency, it's a little too late. Think PrepStartsNow.com before the emergency comes your way. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about a series of issues, all linked together, if you will. Headline news flash. It's from Ron Paul, my favorite former congressman, leader, and extraordinaire of Campaign for Liberty. Anyway, his column this week is called Government's Lie. And I saw the headline and I smile and stop and I go, you think? That's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just telling you, government's lie. Wow. Revelation. But he really talks about some of the solutions and some of the problems that we face. And you can't trust government, people. Okay. He talks in his article about a guy by the name of John Williams. He's publisher of the website called shadowstats.com. That's shadowstats.com. And Williams says, hey, these discouraged and part-time workers increase the unemployment rate by 20%. You say, what the heck are you talking about, John? Well, here's what he's saying. The government manipulates data. That's why Donald Trump fired that clown that was in charge of the reporting. Now, let's be very clear. Donald Trump wants everything to be about him. It isn't about him, although he is in the crosshairs because it makes him look bad. But it's really about what's been done to all presidents for decades. They've fudged the numbers, faked the numbers, played games with the numbers for so long it's not even funny. So I appreciate Donald Trump for calling a halt to the con game. And I really applaud Donald Trump for calling a spade a spade. The numbers are bogus. They lie. It's true. The government lies. Donald says so. John Williams documents so in shadowstats.com. And Ron Paul's saying so, and I'm saying so. So check it out for yourself and see. Let me give you some examples in which explain how the government kind of lies and manipulates data. So the point that this John Williams was making is, look, they have the unemployment number. And it sounds really low. And it makes you feel good. Man, we only got 4.5 or 5 point whatever percent unemployment. It's incredible. Man, the economy's doing great. No, it's lies. So if I look for a job and I find a part-time job, then I'm employed. But the fact is, I'm not fully employed like I'd like to be. I just found a part-time job, can't find a full-time job. But they call me employed. They don't distinguish. Let's take another scenario. Let's say that I have a job and I get fired, but I don't take unemployment. They don't know if I'm looking for a job or not, do they? So I'm not included in the unemployment number, am I? Let's say that I take unemployment and I get unemployment for a while, then they put me on the unemployment list. Now let's say that I decide I'm not going to look for a job anymore. I've just given up. I've looked everywhere. I can't find nothing. I'm giving up. My unemployment expires, but now I'm not looking for a job. Am I employed or unemployed? I'm not looking for a job, remember? They would say that I'm not unemployed because I'm not forced unemployed. I'm just choosing to be unemployed, but I'm choosing to be unemployed because I couldn't find something, which means I was really forced. But because of the designation, right, then I'm not part of that unemployed list. And so when you add these people back in, the people that have part-time or discouraged workers, people that have given up, you would have a much higher unemployment number than you have now. And that's just one example or way the government plays games. Let's take another example about, buying power of Americans. They slice it up into these strange statistics, but I want to talk about the kitchen table idea. Let's say that I usually buy steak. And let's say it's crappy. I don't have the, finances. It's not going very well. And I start buying hamburger or bologna instead. And I don't buy steak. Well, the rules say you can still count it as, hey, prices haven't gone up because there's replacement items. But the problem with that discussion is there's not replacement items like I got a different beef manufacturer. I'm still eating steak or hamburger or hot dogs or, bologna. I was downgraded in what I could afford, but yet they don't acknowledge that downgrading. They just, hey, man, you don't have any problem at all. The economy's good. People are buying, but they're not. It's not the same, right? It's not the same at all. And that's one of the big problems. And so when you manipulate that number and then you manipulate the unemployment number and then you manipulate this and that, pretty soon you don't even have a reality check on the economy at all. Well, I applaud Donald Trump for firing that clown. And I hope that he gets somebody honorable in there, which will correct this. But it's going to be a massive correction. It's not they all of a sudden changed this to get Donald. Yeah, it hurts Donald. I agree. And it hurts all of us. But in the end of the day, this has been going on for decades. This is not a recent problem. Doesn't change the fact that I'm praising Donald for bringing it up. But we got to go to the next level and say, it's not about Trump. It's about a long-term systematic problem in our society. We've allowed the government to lie to us, and we're not calling a halt to their con game, right? Anyway, then Judge Napolitano, great guy, friend of mine and more, he says, hey, the right to be left alone. That's the title of his column. And I think about all of these economic manipulations and everything else and say, do we even need the government reporting all this data to us? What about private sector groups reporting these numbers to us? Would we have more trust in them? Salary.com and payscale.com and, some of these other employment groups can report their numbers. Then we just got to make sure government's not forcing them to manipulate their numbers. Kind of like in, COVID or whatever else, where the government forced people to tell stories that weren't true. We caught them at all that. But you could know the truth if it was a third-party reliable reporting service. We need to put the general government back into its constitutional cage, ladies and gentlemen. We need public servants in our states and in our local governments to accept and understand their sovereignties and demand it. Okay? We cannot let them continue with this thing. We've got to call a halt to this because they really want to abolish the family. That's where they're going. And the way they got to do that is destroy government so you don't trust government, destroy your relationship with God, and then they need to destroy your relationship with family now that they've destroyed your relationship with the country. See? And if they can destroy your relationship with God, family, and country, then they feel like you'll be all alone. And when you're all alone, you're easily controlled and manipulated. We need to not let that happen. We need to stand up for God, family, and country. We need to protect life, liberty, and property. We need to do so boldly, nobly, independently. We need to realize we can be a light on a hill. We as individuals can stand up for moral principles and stand up for, and we cannot let the government lie to us. That's why we need to abolish the Federal Reserve. They're making money out of thin air. It's a fraud. It's a Ponzi scheme. And if anybody's honest with themselves, it needs to be shut down. Yes, we can take time to shut it down because we don't want to crash the plane. We want to land safely, right? I get it. But we need to back away from these thug banking cartels. They're not federal and they don't have any reserves. They've created money out of thin air and they're frauding, fleecing us all. We need to call a halt to that con game too, just while we're on the topic. What do we need to do? We need to return to constitutional currency. That's gold and silver. It might take a little bit of time to work our way back, but the more we do so, the more we'll stabilize ourselves and the better off we'll be. The reason people are trying to flee the dollar and go to some of these other options, whether they be, digital currencies or, crypto, or whether they be other groups of currencies by groups of countries. Hey, we need to reject that. But in order to do so, we need to make sure that our money is honest. It's called honest weights and measures in the Bible. And that's what we need to focus on is honest weights and measures. Okay? As soon as we get that done, we can expect honesty down the road with real numbers across the board. Until then, if you got fraud at the top, you're not going to make it honest downstream, Donald. I wish you would, but I'm telling you, you can't. So let's take off the gloves and get it done for real. After all, the country's at stake. Your family's at stake. I think we're honorable if we stand together and do it now. Will you help me? I'm Sam Bushman. And that's another Liberty Roundtable News the Networks refuse to use video. God save our republic.